Oh yeah, welcome to episode 96 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, the only pimpcast on planet Earth, where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. How you doing, son?
Pretty good. Let's go ahead and get into Pastor Lon.
Yeah. Hey, folks, there's a reason he's saying that. We'll talk about it in a minute. All right, y'all, this episode, like so many others, like all the others, is brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Also, Heaven's Harvest, y'all, 10% off with promo code PERMA. Get all your seeds there, y'all. We're batting 1,000 on those, man. Every seed we put in, no matter the variety, has come up, man. They only guarantee at 85%, which is impressive. We have experienced so far 100%. So if you need any seeds, go check out Heaven's Harvest. Also, they got your storable food, all the things you can't necessarily do yourself or buy in the store. They got it. Good Christian owned and operated company over there. Can't wait to get them on the show. All right, don't forget, y'all, you can check us out on the Fountain app where you can tip a pimp. So if you want to go over there and, you know, listen to all your podcasts over there. And remember, PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. Got to make sure I spelled that out for the ones that are easily offended out there. Anyway, if you want to go over there, check us out on the Fountain app and listen to all your other podcasts over there right after you listen to the Permaculture Pimpcast. Yeah, you can go check it out over there. All right, y'all, I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to go straight into the tip of the day, and then we're going to get into farm news because we have had some very strange things occur.
All day.
Well, not just all day, but it's like I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm going to jump straight into it, son, because I could totally derail the entire program. But there's a reason why I said, let's just go straight to Pastor Lon.
Yeah.
Because this is like the fourth or fifth take of trying to start this show. We'll cover that in a minute. All right, y'all. Tip of the day. It's going to make sense in the grand scheme of things. Remember, stack functions around the day. Here's what I'm getting at, y'all. Okay, I went through Dr. Ingham's course, and I probably did it in record time when I did put foot to butt on it. And the reason why, here's one of the methods I do when I'm working. A lot of times, many of you know that when you're doing farm work, maybe you're not using all of your brain at the time. So it may open an opportunity for you to somehow maybe listen to a podcast or whatever. In my case, I'm supplanting some of the more, I don't know, political natured, some of the stuff that's current events, whatever the case is, with things that are actually helping me become a better farmer, permaculture designer, you name it. So while I was working, and I said it before, but it bears mentioning again that while I was working, at the same time, I would inoculate my brain with the next lesson I would be doing for Dr. Ingham, and I would play it at double the speed. And if I had time, I'd go through it again. And then, so I'm doing things I'm normally doing anyway. And then later on that day, while I could see the visual of it, well, my brain is already inoculated with a lot of the information. So I could go through double the speed again, go in there, knock out the test, and still retain the information. Well, the same thing applies in so many other different things. I mean, like, okay, if you're working out, can you work out while performing a farm task? Let's say it's a cardio workout like your mom is doing right now.
Yeah.
You know, you think about it. She's going up and down that hill. You know, I may have failed 75 hard, but she didn't. And she was actually going to start over because of me, you know. I mean, that's how she's built, y'all. And I told her I would absolutely strangle her if she did. But, okay. Yeah, the only threat of violence around this place, though, I told her, I said, you better drive on, woman. So anyway, she's out there doing this and at the same time doing her farm chores at the same time. So just like on your farm, which we're going to cover in the main event on this show, think about how you can stack those functions and get way more done. Like a lot of times when I'm answering, I mean, a lot of you folks ain't going to want to hear this, but I'm doing unsavory things at the times when I'm answering some of your emails.
I think they know.
Or when I'm responding on YouTube, I'm taking whatever time I'm able to do without taking it away from my family to be able, you know, I take those pockets of time to be able to stack functions even in my daily life. And by the way, folks, if I sound a little bit congested, man, I don't know what's got me. I think it's still that sweet and sour sniffles. I haven't been right ever since I ate that sandwich from Jimmy John's. And it's like the way people describe having malaria, where it comes and it goes. And it's like, I'll be doing great. I feel great. I go out and do something. And then all of a sudden, I get this weird, I just start feeling achy, every part of my body. And then what's weird about this time is that I seem to have this, and I told your mom earlier, she was wondering why I was on the porch doing Wim Hof breathing.
With a jacket on.
Yeah, I was outside, and if y'all know me, y'all, I run usually on the hot side. I'm even in the mornings. I mean, I'm out here basically in a t-shirt. I'm out there almost shivering in the sun, and I got my feet up on the porch doing this deep breathing. She's wondering what's wrong, and I'm like, I don't even know. I got this weird anxiety, seems to accompany whatever it is I have, and yeah. So this has been going on. This is the weirdest kind of sickness I think I've ever had. Is it a new strain of the sweet and sour sniffles? I don't know. Is it something those women at that Jimmy John's? Was I around something? Did they do something? I don't know. All I know is right after I ate the sandwich I said I shouldn't have had, all of a sudden, you know, it's coming in and it's going. But I've been going nuts on the vitamin C, the breathing treatments, everything I can. And hopefully I'm starting to turn a corner on this thing. But if you hear a little congestion in me, if the timbre of my voice sounds weird, you know the reasons why. All right, so speaking of the farm news, out there, you know, when I'm able, when I have energy, I'm out there making more bone sauce. I mean, folks are buying it faster than I can make it, and folks, I'm not going to rush it. So if we're out of stock, look, I know people want this stuff, and I'm trying to make it as best I can, but I'm not cutting any corners, not on anything. So if we're behind on stock on some of this stuff, please understand. I'm doing the best I can, especially under the conditions. Yeah, so we're working on something of an expansion deal. Hopefully, we'll talk about that later as far as our, one of our businesses.
That'll be really exciting if it goes through.
Yeah, but I think there's something Pastor Lon sent me that gave me pause in a lot of this, and I'll talk about that in a minute. About to seed some buckwheat and cowpea out there. We talked about what the animals have done on the side of the hill, and I'm hoping to film this. I want to absolutely film it and show, okay, you got some jacked up soil. Here's exactly how we do it. Here's how we do it. Even though there's stuff growing out there, I'm going to show you, look, it's not, I don't know if it's the perfect method, but it's the one that's been working for us for years and years and years. And also, I want to point out also, folks over on Patreon seem to be quite pleased about the compost series that we're doing.
Yeah.
Folks, I can go in tremendous detail over there, and I have the ability to answer everybody's questions, whereas I can't go into specifics. I know folks are like wondering, hey, why aren't you doing this on YouTube? Well, number one, it's a thank you for all the people that are supporting us on Patreon, and I can't thank y'all enough.
Yeah.
But it's also an opportunity for me to teach this new method. And it's not just a new method that I've learned from Dr. Ingham. It's also throwing in tricks that I learned from William and tricks that I've learned from other people. So we're taking basically the best elements of everything. I'm not gonna take ownership of this method. I'm just gonna say all the tips and tricks that we've learned to make things easier. We're putting it into one cohesive thing, and it's over there on Patreon. If anybody's interested, you can sign up for as little as $1 or as much as $25. And it's not to try to keep it exclusive. We don't do that. Like I said, for the people that support us, man, it's my way of saying thank you. And every single question you have about this, I will address. I will get you the answers. And if I have the knowledge to answer that question, and in most cases, I'm probably going to have it, we're gonna get it squared away over there, son. All right, I know you got something on your end you wanted to talk about.
Well, minus everything wanting to crash on us. All right, so I made a trip out to Weaverville today. So I started the soil science class, the same one that Mom and Dad are doing, and I had to get some materials. I had to get like a bunch of binders. I had to get this manual printed off. It was like 100-some pages, so we didn't want to use the printer here. So here,
well, hang on, you got a
I got
notebook.
notes. I got notes. Here is my trip to Weaverville. I titled it Crazy Weaverville.
Now, I've been trying all day to get him to tell me what happened.
I told everybody.
He said, I'm just going to tell you on the podcast. And I'm like, son, I mean, that ain't very much prep for me. So I'm finding out just like the rest of y'all. All I know is he just cracked open a book.
There's new news about like expansion and all that. I had to write this down before I found out about the new news.
Yeah. So I was trying to get him to tell me. So I'm finding out along with y'all.
All right. So start off, I go to UPS and I go in there and there's this woman, there's like this island in the middle of UPS and this woman is like halfway laying on it and she's talking on 2 phones to 2 different people. One of them's her daughter. I know this because it's all on speakerphone. One of them's her daughter. She's freaking out at the hospital. She's a nurse. And the mom doesn't really have any answers for that. And then there's another lady who she rents a condo to in Florida, then the alarm won't go off. And she's having both of these conversations at the same time in the middle of UPS while kind of laying down on this island thing. And she doesn't work there. She's just some random lady who is also trying to get the Wi-Fi password from the UPS worker. And it's a big mess there. So I'm trying to get stuff printed off. I go over there. The guy says the email hasn't come in yet because it's a large PDF file. So I'm going to go get some of the other running around done while I'm waiting for that to go in. So leaving the parking lot, there's an accident. And this lady, literally, she's driving down the lanes of the parking lot and literally just drifts off into the side of another vehicle. Like, it didn't make any, like, she just drifted off into the side of another vehicle slowly. But, I mean, there was, like, the lady there, some other person there, and then, like, there was a cop that had just showed up whenever I was leaving. So there's that. Then I get to Walmart. And then there's this lady that comes up to me and she said she likes my shirt and she's carrying a basket and a cat carrier, like with cats in them, with 6 kittens in there.
What?
Yes, in Walmart. She's carrying around this basket and a cat carrier. She says, I like her shirt. And then she asks me if I can help her carry her cats to her car, which I was like, all right. I mean, she's like an older lady and she didn't seem to be like completely there. So I was like, all right. Yeah, I don't know why you brought your cats in here to begin
Put
with.
them in one of them carts?
That's the thing. She passed all the carts and got a basket. I don't even know where you get baskets in that Walmart. I've looked for baskets in that Walmart. I don't even know where you get a basket in that. I don't think they have baskets in that Walmart. And I always thought it was like a marketing ploy to fill up your cart instead of your basket. So she's carrying a Walmart basket and a cat carrier with 6 kittens in them that she just got shots for. And our Walmart doesn't have like a vet area. So I'm just a little curious about that. I'm walking to her car and stuff like that. She asked like more information about the shirt. I'm wearing Eric Sider's shirt, the permaculture preparedness one.
Yeah, I got the other one on.
Yeah, I got the green one on. Dad's got the black one on. I'm wearing that one, and then she's talking to me about like her whole life. She's just rambling about everything in her whole life and how she's lived like this back to the land movement her whole life and how she's lived on various farms and stuff. And I said, oh, we have a YouTube channel. You should check it out. And she's like, oh, I have a YouTube channel too. I don't get on there very much though because I did some pedophile activist work. And
what?
Yeah, and then a bunch of people like started hating on me for it. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then literally before I can ask what's going on, like what do you mean pedophile activist work? Cuz I was like, if there's pedophiles, send them my way. And if you're like on the other end of the spectrum, then that like very, very bizarre. Just flat out evil. And my gut is telling me it was on that evil side of the spectrum. And at the same time, she told me that before I can even ask, there's these 2 cars in front of us. One lady is blaring the horn. She's like just backed out of the spot. She's blaring the horn. And there's another car just backing out very slowly. And she's blaring the horn and the guy isn't stopping. The one that's like backing out. He's not stopping. And then finally, he makes contact with the other car and it's just this slow crunch, like a very slow crunch. And then he finally stops, pulls forward a little bit, backs up a little bit, and then stops and gets out of his car. And then there's like this whole interaction. And me and this lady, she's crazy as a 3-headed cat. And even she thinks this is crazy because like the whole bizarre like interaction. Anyway, I finally escaped that whole situation. And then I go to Walmart, get all that stuff done. And then I get to UPS. And then I go back to UPS to get that squared away. And then what does she do there? This is why I had to write it down because there's so much crazy stuff going on. She's telling me like this lady is still there, the same one that was laying on the island talking on 2 different phones and is like getting the Wi-Fi and all that stuff. She's like bothering every employee inside of UPS. So it's taking me a long time to even get what I'm trying to do. And then she notices my shirt again and says,
This is a whole nother person.
Notices my shirt again and says, oh, I like your shirt. Me and my partner, which is a blaring, red flag there. Me and my partner just moved to Marshall and we bought 5 Acres Homestead, and it had goats and alpacas before that, and we want to bring goats and alpacas again.
Please tell me you didn't tell her about our YouTube channel.
I told her about the YouTube channel.
Oh, no,
I told her about the YouTube. Hold on, there's a reason for this, though. There is a reason for this. And then she starts telling me her whole doggone life story about how she moved to Florida and all that, and how she moved up here, and then she had like an asthma attack, and then the doctor started putting her on prednisone, and then she's taking prednisone however often, and how it makes her bounce off the walls. So it's like meth to her or something like that. So now she's trying. I don't know why she's telling me this, honestly. I don't know why she's talking to me at all, other than like the shirt. And then like so then she like finds out like all about the permaculture stuff, all that. Finds out like we do consultations and stuff, not do consultations, but that like we help people homestead on YouTube and all that stuff. And then she's finally leaving. She gets off the island, gathers all of her stuff, and then just like gets, the YouTube information, and then walks out. And then I just realized she wasn't at UPS to mail anything, to print anything. She didn't leave anything. She didn't check out or anything. I don't even know why she was in UPS. I really don't know why. But she came back 2 more times. No. She came back 3 more times just to make sure that this was the right podcast. Like she had parked, like where the parking lot is for that UPS, right? In Weaverville.
So she's listening to this podcast.
I doubt she's listening to the podcast.
Yeah, we live up in Tennessee.
Man. No. But okay, so she walks out to her car, which is not a short walk, walks out to her car, like looks up the YouTube channel, I guess, walks back into the UPS store, walks out to her car, back in, out to her car, back in, all asking questions about the YouTube channel. Finally, my stuff is done printed by this point. And then she is kind of like in the in-between stage, whether or not she was going to come back in or stay in her car. I don't know. And then I look at the guy and I was like, so I get a discount for distracting her for these, for the past 10 minutes, right? And he's like, actually, yeah. So it's, instead of 25 cents per copy, it was 15 cents per copy. And then whenever I was leaving the parking lot, I was like, man, I hope she's not parked next to me. Dad, I crossed that road without even looking both ways. I was like, man, I do not want to make eye contact with this lady and have her find out which vehicle I'm in, or the chance of her, because she lives in Marshall. So she could potentially be like, oh, I just followed you on the way home, followed you like home on the way to my house. What a coincidence.
This ain't a place, you better come heavy, because this ain't a place you just come. Son, now I was like, when he got back, I'm asking questions. I'm like, what's up, man? He says, I'll tell you on the podcast. I'm like, what? I'm like, what could have possibly happened that, and now I know. I mean, I'm finding out just like everybody else.
Okay, Weaverville, the 4-way stop at Walmart and Lowe's, I was the only one moving. I waited. I was the last one to pull up. Nobody else was moving.
Son, here's what I think is going on, because, folks, if I'm good at anything, and it also makes me good at permaculture design, is for as long as I can remember, the one real talent I have is noticing patterns in a lot of things. Some things not so much, but other things a lot. Y'all, let me tell you something. We had to restart this podcast 4 times until I said, look, let's stop and pray. Am I wrong?
Before that, I had to reset all of the settings on the application that we used to record. Yeah. Because all of them were like wiped out. It was like I had never used this application before.
We literally had to bind whatever is going on in the name of Jesus. I'm not kidding y'all. I mean, that literally happened right before. We could not get this thing to work until that happened. So for anybody out there that may be on the fence, and honestly, I'm sure, I mean, folks, are you having days like this, or are you coming across stuff like this? Because the real truth of it is, this is why when he started the podcast, he said, let's go straight to Pastor Lon. Because the truth of it is, I mean, like I said, I've never had a sickness that encompassed this level of anxiety. I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm like, okay, this sickness, it doesn't even make sense. If you're sick, you're usually sick. It doesn't come and go. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not using my greatest weapon, which is raising my voice.
Yeah, I mean, like an example of that, like so you remember like after the lockdowns ended, and then like after not going into public for so long, going back into public, you got that like anxious feeling?
No, I didn't.
I did. I got that again today at Walmart after encountering that lady, because I didn't get any of my shopping done until after that car accident and the cat lady.
The second car accident.
Yeah, the first car accident. I didn't get any of the Walmart shopping done because I had gone in, she saw my shirt, helped her, and then I went back in to get the shopping done. I started getting that feeling again of like, wow, there's a lot of people here and stuff like that. And I should have walked in the authority that Jesus Christ has given me, and I didn't. And I just now realize that.
Yeah, y'all, we've been making, and it's amazing how these lessons, no matter how many times I learn them, I got to keep doing it. I mean, there's been a lot of spiritual stuff, I think, going on, and I think I dare say, look, folks, just email me, billy@permapasturesfarm.com. Let me know if you guys are running into anything like this, because honestly, I'm seeing this stuff at a level that I've never seen before. Like it's one thing when I'm driving home from Missouri, on a drive home, you're going to see, but I've seen things as of late. Look, I'm almost 52 years old, y'all. I kind of know patterns on what it looks like on the road on the weekend driving. I ain't never seen nothing like this before.
Oh, yeah. Before you send your emails, pray so it actually gets to us.
Well, that's another thing. There's emails that ain't getting to us, and there's emails we're sending that aren't getting where we want them to go. Text messages. I mean, there's like this. I know that there's this NSA component, but there's also, I suspect, a strong spiritual component going on. I don't know. If this is happening to anybody else out there, let us know.
That PDF at UPS, I had to resend 3 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we're going to need some help right now from the homesteading pastor. So, in fact, we're going to get to his message, and then I got something else I want to add as well.
Hello, everyone. This is Pastor Lon. Got a few verses of scripture I'd like to share with us today. They're in Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 3. If ye then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sitteth on the right hand of God. Set your affections on things above, not on things on the earth. For ye are dead, and your life is hid with Christ in God. If we've been risen with him, meaning we have been born again, we need to seek those things from above. That should be our first allegiance, to make sure that our affection is on heavenly things from above. Even though we have to live in this life, in this sinful world, our main focus and all of our allegiance should be to God Almighty. And if we will keep our eyes on Jesus, we won't lose sight of the purpose of life. And that purpose is to be sold out to him, and all of our allegiance to be unto him and worship him in spirit and in truth. And as believers, we are most effective when our attitudes and our actions are aligned with Jesus Christ.
All right, here's why this is so impactful to me. And by the way, folks, y'all go check him out over on Homesteading Pastor at YouTube, or Homesteading Pastor on YouTube.
There's a link down below.
Yeah, we always have that link down below. But he just put out a Come Sit a Spell. That's where he and my wife, Miss Robbie, are sitting on a porch. And, he basically, him and Miss Robbie, man, they're talking about, there's a lot of things they cover there. Part of it is, recognizing like me, they ain't that old, man. And they're looking around and they're like, how does the world change this much since I was a kid? You look at the world around you and you see this unbelievable depravity and all these other things that are going on, and you don't even know how to even comprehend it. I mean, imagine you're a soldier that stormed the beaches of Normandy and you're still around and you're thinking, man, I fought for this. They got Memorial Day coming up. And the kids have no idea what it is. Literally no idea what any of this stuff is. I remember when I heard him talk about that, I immediately thought about my 8th grade teacher, Mr. Pendarvis. I don't remember all my teachers, but he's one of maybe 2 or 3 I remember. I remember him teaching us the Constitution. To this day, I can recite the Bill of Rights, the preamble to the Constitution, all these things that I learned in school, and now they are no longer taught. But honestly, they were talking about also the things that go on. I remember there was at least some semblance of order to a certain point. But now it's like there's just mayhem and depravity every single time you turn around. But I want to go back to his message that he sent right here, because man, I'm telling you what, every single time I can relate to what Pastor Lon is saying. Here's what I'm getting at, folks. We've lost probably a lot of money based on the things I say and I don't say. I'm going to be very frank with you. There's a lot of people that don't want to work with us because of the stance I've taken on what I believe. I believe in my yays being yays and my nays being nays. We've lost money in other opportunities. I mean, when I say lost money, y'all, I'm talking massive amounts. And there may even be that potential right now because people, when you take the kind of stances that we choose to do, and they're not, we're doing this with a full understanding that it may mean that you don't necessarily get to keep what you do. But I'm not going to sacrifice. I'm not going to compromise. Okay, I'll give you a prime example, and this goes right back to Pastor Lon's message. Business opportunities pops up, and in my mind, I'm not even going to lie to you, y'all. This literally happened today, and I thought about it, and I'm like, good night. If these people go and look or listen to what I've said in this podcast or what I've said on this YouTube channel, they're probably going to run to the hills, even though it could be highly lucrative to my family. And I was embarrassed for even thinking it. Embarrassed. Because I have far more than I deserve. And honestly, if I became a multi-trillionaire tomorrow, I'd still wear the same clothes, still probably driving old trucks. My life don't change a bit. But the fact that it even entered my mind.
Maybe drive older trucks.
Yeah, maybe
EMP-proof trucks.
Yeah, EMP. Yeah, but son, the embarrassing part that I felt was the fact that I'd even entered my mind. And I almost had to immediately repent for it. Because I'm thinking, okay, how's the Lord ever going to trust me with more when I'm having second thoughts about not second thoughts about my stance, but as soon as, you have these,
that's a good point.
You have these moments of like, good night. I hope all the things I said don't affect me on this. And then the second I'm like, you big dummy. You know who's responsible for all this. You know who you work for. Why are you even caring? Because honestly, whether an opportunity falls through or whether it happens is of no consequence either way. I got to be a soldier no matter what. And the fact that even crossed my mind is a straight up embarrassment to me. Now, y'all, ordinarily we go into the good news, bad news section, and I got all that, but it's not making sense in terms of time because we spend a lot of time doing what and honestly,
because Weaverville had to lose its doggone mind today.
I don't think it's just Weaverville, but like I'm saying, I mean, the things I have there are interesting, but I'm not even going to cover it now because I think we spent time on things that are far more important. But before we go into this break, son, I do want to point out that, I don't fancy myself as some incredible tough guy, this and that and this. Sorry, y'all, for the congestion. This just seems to be getting worse. I will say that you have these very human moments when you're not looking at the prize, which is Jesus. And I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this could be extremely beneficial. You know how many people we can feed with what we do. And right. I won't talk about what it is because there's always that aspect too, folks. We feed a lot of people, but we don't tell you about it. We do a lot of other things, but we don't tell you about it. So it's not a selfish game like, oh, look at all the money I can make, because honestly, one more dollar doesn't change my life. We're still going to eat the food. We're still going to process our own stuff. We're still going to live the way we do. Drive the same things until they don't run no more.
We could be broke and still not be able to acquire better food.
Well, that's a fact. I mean, and then at the end of the day, this our knowledge in that department lets me know that no matter what, like Eric Sider said to me, it just gives me the assurance knowing that no matter my circumstance, I know how to get food. I mean, and Eric told me that, I remember the first time he had ever said it to me. But the point being, y'all, I got to admit that I was somewhat embarrassed that even crossed my mind. And once again, like everything else that seemed to have happened today over the last several days, I think it's the enemy working on me. But it ain't going to have no power here, not in this place, because as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
They don't want the individual, just a carbon copy. You spitting that man, the copy, yeah, I'm talking saucy.
Well, so this is one thing I love about doing our show in kind of a live format is that it can really go on a dime because this is not at all the show we planned, or at least the show I planned. But honestly, that's the cool thing about this open format is we have regular conversations. We talk the way we normally do. I mean, we have no editing. Minus the minor things here and there, or when
even the music isn't even edited in. We're pressing buttons and then leaning away from the mics.
Yeah, and then I go to sniff my nose. I'm trying to hit the mute button and everything to go do all that stuff. But that's what I love about this format because you can look on this sheet of paper that I had an entirely different plan for this show. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to roll with it. And honestly, I think I love this format because it also keeps us nimble. Man, we don't have to go by anybody's direction but the Almighty's. And, if I feel led to go one way, then that's exactly how we're going to go. And I think my trusty sidekick agrees. All right, y'all, Before we get into it, EMP Shield, y'all, another big sponsor of the show. $50 off with promo code PERMA. Look, y'all, I'm not even going to kid you. I reached out to them initially because I am a journeyman electrician. That's how I made my living for most of my life. And I put in a lot of transient voltage surge suppressors, and I ain't ever seen anybody that had a guarantee like they have. Like I said, your house gets hit by lightning, and the EMP shield doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Let's say it blows up everything in the house. 25 G's, that's what they're going to cover you with. That's why EMP Shield, that's why I reached out to them. That's why they are a sponsor of this show. So don't forget, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Now we're going to jump straight into it. And then I always like to make the tip of the day kind of rhyme, at least to some extent or another, with the main topic, if I can. And today I think it's one of those successful times. And I'm going to say integration is key. Now, y'all, just like, okay, a lot of times William doesn't even know the show until we get in here. And half the time he doesn't know until I bring it up. Like right now, you had no idea what we're going to talk about until today. But that's how agile he is with, these topics.
Well, these topics largely don't require like a lot of we're talking about what we know.
Well, and then plus I don't like things to be so scripted because it comes off as if you're reading a script. Just like he didn't hit me up about this thing until it happened, and I'm like, okay, how do I respond to this? But I think it's at least more genuine that way. And this is what I want to get at. Integration is key. And I'm not talking like Brown versus Board of Education kind of stuff. I'm talking, well, it can be that way sometimes when you're taking one animal and mixing it in with the other. But here's where I want to get at it, y'all. And, based on a number of experiences over really the past couple of months, I think a lot of us in the homesteading, even in the permaculture space, are missing the opportunity to create so much more. For example, let's say you got a grove of trees out there. Well, most of us in the United States of Amnesia feel as if that has to be just one aseptic environment where that's my orchard.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. That's all it can be. So I got my trees out there. Now, you've heard us talk before about a guild, okay? So that's basically a collection of other plants situated around your trees, and each one helps the other. Not anything is better than the next, although you're probably going to favor your fruit trees in there.
Yeah.
That's going to be your rock star. Another, let's say your comfrey is going to be your bass player. Your lead guitarist is going to be some oregano. You got all these different roles. Everybody seems to get that concept. But also ask yourself, when you put these things in, or in situations where you currently have them, could they benefit more? And part of this is going also by an interview Jack Spirko just did with Jeff Lawton. Everybody ought to go check it out. Go check out Jack Spirko on YouTube and listen to that conversation he just had with Jeff Lawton. And that's really, there's a series of a bunch of things. Figuring out a show topic is never difficult, but when it's like trying to figure out which one kind of fits what's going on right now. And that one, when I heard that interview, I was like, okay, there's no way I'm not going to talk about this. Because Jack brought up this one thing about, why don't people understand it? I'm going to loosely quote it here. You'd be better served by listening to it yourself. Highly recommend it. Like the value of, if you're building a landscape or rebuilding a landscape, how so many people just put one thing, I'm going to put grass out there, I'm going to put trees. And then Jack says, well, they totally missed the animal systems. And then Jeff says something like, well, they're going to be there one way or the other. I mean, whether you want them there or not, they're going to find their way.
You might as well just pick which animal systems you want to eat and stuff like that, or want to interact with or manage or care for.
Well, like Jack was talking about a guy who had something like he's like, man, I'm not even going to grow a garden anymore. Those deer come up all the time and they eat everything up. And Jack's like, well, you got yourself a deer garden.
Yeah. Go eat the deer.
Go eat the deer. I mean, it's bringing in something. But we think of everything, and myself included, we think of everything in a reductionistic world if you've been raised in a Western culture, and I've been beating this out of my own mind for going on, I don't even know how many years now, where we tend to think that all these things need to work in isolation because that's really the way we've seen them.
Well, it's also like stacking functions in terms of like land. So if you're like, so usually stacking functions is applied to like, oh, I'm going to do this task while I'm doing, like with your podcast and work and stuff like that, or working out and a work task as well. Like that's typically stacking functions, but you can do the same thing with your land. So like, let's say you have an acre plot and you're growing an orchard, like a standard orchard there. You can stack functions by adding chickens, adding sheep, adding the other 6 layers of the forest, stuff like that.
Right. So if you had that same 1 acre, and I've never seen anybody get this as quickly as Seth Holhouse did when we were at his place,
yeah.
Where he immediately, once we explained kind of the concept here, he was already running away with it. And he already understood that, okay, you got this 1 acre here and it can be productive as an orchard. Fine.
Yeah.
But how silly is it once you understand that you can now have an orchard that's giving you, let's say, fruits, nuts, berries, medicine, fertility. Now, all of a sudden, I just introduce something real easy, something that's not going to be a big damage. Let's say you don't understand cows yet, so you're going to run sheep out there.
Yeah.
Something that you could easily contain that is going to eat the grass in between your rows of trees.
And something you can pick up, worst case scenario.
Yes, worst case scenario. So even in a city, so you got a 1 acre spot. You got all these fruit trees, but believe me, do you have any idea how many trees you could put on a freaking acre?
Especially if you design it like in a permaculture format. You can fit, if you don't do just straight lines and rows, you can fit a lot more trees. I think it's a 33% increase I could be completely wrong on that, but it is definitely like a somewhere around there increase if you don't do straight lines and rows.
Yes, and then plus there's also that edge effect.
Yeah.
That you create by not having everything. All the action, y'all, happens when 2 mediums collide, okay? So the more edge effect, the more curve you can put into something, the more edge effect you create, which means more life. Those are more complex topics that we'll have to talk at another time about. But
an easy one that like will paint the pictures, if you go to like a pond, you can see like the middle of the pond is still and stuff like that. That's not the edge. But if you look at the edge of the pond, you can see it lapping up against the edges.
Right, where that medium of the water meets the medium of the land.
Right.
That's where a lot of your action happens. Well, the same exact thing. So somebody's saying, well, I got an orchard out there. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. Now, think about what else you could stack to it that really doesn't require more out of you. Okay, so let's say it's sheep. Okay, so you got sheep. Well, the natural, what would you have, run after sheep? Ducks or chickens?
Yeah. You
Some
could do
kind of
rabbits
poultry.
as well.
Yes, you could do all that right there behind it. So the folks that are telling me, they write to me and they say, well, I only have a half acre or a quarter acre. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You have so many options. Like I said, I always go back to that example of that dad and his 3 kids that were living on that 1/3 of an acre in California, producing 6,000 pounds of food on a 1/3 of an acre.
Yeah. That's
So
pretty
much that they had to give it away. They were selling this stuff. They made their life possible by being able to do that. Folks, what I'm getting at, when I say integration is key, it's integrating as many layers into your food forest as possible. Integrating also diversity, which means, okay, let's say you got apples out there in your orchard. Does it make sense to have all the same cultivar? You may like Granny Smith, but that is just foolish from a preparedness standpoint, also a permaculture standpoint, and also for a practical standpoint, because number one, let's say the tree didn't work out. Let's say it came in at the wrong time, and had it come in a week later, you would have had a harvest. Well, if you had another cultivar that came in a week later,
Yep.
guess what? You got a harvest where you didn't get it off that Granny Smith. Or same thing with your berries. Right now we got June bearing strawberries down there. I mean, and it's going to be another bumper crop.
Well, I think they're blowing up like as we speak. I saw a bunch of red dots down there driving by.
Yeah, so it's going to be another one of those times where we're probably going to have to invite folks over to come pick them and give them away. But point of it being is that also it opens up other business opportunities because the ice cream place in town.
Yep.
And since I'm screwed up on 75 hard anyway, might as well go get some ice cream. And I got them 2 shoe fly pies out there I'm about to devastate. Want to give a shout out to my man Ike, also in Pennsylvania. I know that's a little off topic.
I don't think that's how this is supposed to go.
Yeah, I've already blown 75 hard, so I got to start over again on Monday, which means I'm going to devastate those 2 shoe fly pies out there. I got to give Ike a call tomorrow, man. He's my man.
Yeah, that's all yours, Dad.
Yeah, I need no help on that score. But the point being, back to the main topic, is that when I integrate that shoe fly pie with the ice cream that I'm going to get out there, along with the strawberries that I got going out there, which means strawberry shortcake on top of it all. Point is, I integrate all these things. You can integrate easily all of these things into one thing that you once thought was isolated. I mean, do you need just grass out there? Okay, does something eat that grass? Does that mean you don't I'd rather move around sheep than move around a mower.
Yeah, for sure. And I can also eat sheep.
Yep.
Can't eat a mower.
Move it, just like Greg Judy was talking about, man. You know what? My employees are not tractors, man. They do the work for me. But now looking at Greg's place, I mean, look at the interaction that he has out there. Could he stack more functions? Probably if he had a whole gang of people out there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he would. I mean, there was a time where he was doing it all by himself and along with his wife. But honestly, when you start adding more of these functions, it gets to a point of diminishing returns if you can't necessarily get out there and do it all. But, son, let me ask you this. Can you be more productive as a person on 1 acre or 5 acres?
Per square foot, you're more productive on 1 acre.
So don't think everybody that's out there writing to me saying, well, I need more acreage. No, you don't. Get really, really awesome at working on that city lot. Use every square inch. It's going to make your brain work in ways you didn't know it was possible, because you're going to have to find ways to stack functions in smaller areas, which makes you 10 times more productive.
I was thinking this would be a cool like internship or like intern program. Like you start off, like you do your, let's say like a year internship with Jeff Lawton or whoever you're with. And then your next project is to take half an acre. And you have certain requirements of production that you have to meet. Once you meet those, then you can upgrade to larger acreage. Because if you can't manage like half an acre properly, if we can't manage it to like its semi full potential, almost full potential, then you're just going to waste a lot of the space on larger acreage.
I think that's really a good metric in so many different ways. And in a way, going right back to Greg Judy, that's kind of what he has out there. You know, he brought in the hands he has because they've proven themselves through the intern program that they had. So now, you know, you got yourself a hand. And if they're not, you know, maybe some hands move on. They find other places to work and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But honestly, son, it actually did occur to me. I don't know if this is going to be a real possibility, but I was thinking if this other business opportunity works out for us, we might be able to do such a thing like that.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. I mean, it would, under the right circumstances. Like I said, we're needing to expand for a whole bunch of reasons that we can't talk about just yet. Excuse me, but if the good Lord sees fit, sorry, y'all, I'm congested the whole 9 yards, so
they heard.
I'm doing the best I can, y'all. But I love doing this podcast, and I love talking about everything we're doing right now. But the point of it being, we can open up so many doors for philanthropy, for opportunity. All these people are reaching out saying, hey, can we come and learn and see how to do this? Well, if this other opportunity works out, maybe you get to see it from the ground up.
And on the flip side, it's without us sacrificing security or like what little privacy we have left.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it can't be like we can't be sacrificing ourselves in order to teach everybody.
Well, and so many people want to come out, and I understand that, but at the same time, y'all, it's hard to convey the fact that we get hit up so many times about this that if we were to say yes, we would never be able to get anything done. Despite, I know everybody says, well, I'll just stop by for an hour. It really doesn't work that way. And we're in projects that we just can't leave. So if this other thing works out well, and Lord, and y'all, we pray that y'all pray to the Lord and ask his favor on us, because it could mean a really awesome benefit for a whole bunch of people out there.
Yeah.
And I'm talking a lot of y'all in the listening audience too, if this works out, because it could be really a tremendous opportunity to evangelize permaculture in a way that I don't know that too many have ever had the opportunity to do.
Not just permaculture though.
Yes.
I mean, that place would like open up opportunities for all kinds of topics.
Yeah.
Like whatever we took an interest in at that time, really.
Yeah.
Or whatever we were led to do.
Yeah. And it's just, it would be but in terms of permaculture alone,
Yeah.
where you can literally see it go up, building a place from the ground up. And like I said, we're going to just ask that the Lord bless it if it's in his will. And if not, then we'll move on, because, I'm just going to have faith that the Lord will just put me where he wants me. And right now, some doors have opened, so
Right.
we'll see how they go.
Yeah.
All right, y'all, when we get back to it, we're going to go straight into the Q&A.
Maybe I'm forgotten at the bottom where it's hollow. My golems wanna follow roads that go below Agartha. They want me to chase my sins, but I'm not here to stay with them. Keep a hollow chain, but I don't got a right.
Wait,
Yeah, I totally messed up, y'all. The show ain't, man.
Oh,
That's-
wait, hold on. We're muted too. Dang.
Dude,
All
we're
right.
batting 1,000. Look, y'all, the
Oh,
show
man.
ain't over. I'm like, man, this music sounds weird. That's not usually what we go on a break with. I hit the wrong button. That's on me, y'all. No weird stuff. That was just,
And the mics were muted.
yeah. And I'm like totally doped out over here. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, man.
All right, y'all, we're going to get straight into it. Matt, from, let's see here. This is coming in from Patreon. Pimcast question: what is your opinion on buying wooded land and then turning some of it into pasture? I'm in Central Virginia, and we're looking to buy land, and the most affordable pieces of land are wooded. My thought is purchasing the land with hardwoods and selling off some of the timber rights for the property and using the area that they cut down to turn into pasture. Thoughts? Christ is king. Amen to that.
I got some thoughts. Yeah,
Yeah.
amen to that. But I got some thoughts. It's much easier to turn wooded land into pasture than it is to turn pasture into woods. So there's that. So that's a plus. Also, I wouldn't sell your rights away. I wouldn't sell your timber rights away. And I would do it yourself. It's going to be a slower process, but you get some meat out of the deal. You can raise pigs at the same time, have them help clear. But I would go that route and try to go for more of a silvopasture aspect than I would just straight pasture, because cows, sheep, pigs, goats, they all benefit from silvopasture just like they would pasture.
Well, we also need more information. I mean, if you're needing an area cleared out now, I will say some of these timber companies, you sign a Faustian bargain if you're
Yeah.
not careful. If you don't have a forester working on your behalf, they can go in there, clear cut that thing, make it look like a doggone moonscape. And I just saw it, your mom and I, on the way down to Jason at Sow the Lands.
Oh.
There's this place along the way, man. It looks like, I mean, they just absolutely decimated that land. So you got to be really, really careful. They'll cut roads. They'll say they'll cut these roads, and then all they care is whether or not that road is functional during the time that they're doing it. So
Remember that one dude's that neighbor's property in Texas when
Yeah.
they came and cleared? They cut everything
down just for, I mean, the more money trees, and they took it all. It was a barren, desolate landscape. So you got to be real careful about that. I mean, you can do it responsibly, but make sure you have a forester working on your behalf, and maybe have them go in there and put ribbons around the ones that get cut or ones that don't. You can do this responsibly. In fact, there's even crews out there still doing them with horses and whatnot. So
That'd
you gotta
be cool.
You got to be real careful. But, well, they're going to have less impact on the land doing it that way.
Well, yeah, it'd still be cool. I've always wanted like a draft horse team to work
Yeah,
with and
one of
stuff.
these days I'd love to have a draft horse too. I mean, I just love those horses. But that's a really, I've heard and I've seen some very devastating consequences. So be real careful about how you go about that. As far as, yeah, I agree with William on the other aspects. But man, I'm telling y'all, I have seen some doozies when it
Yeah.
comes to people that have. In fact, the one on the way out to Jason's, I don't mean to belabor this, but I almost stopped a little bit when your mom and I mean, she kind of gasped a little bit when we're looking over there like, man, did they really cut these roads that way? All they wanted was a functional road to get the operator in and out of there.
Oh, wow.
They didn't even care, man. Half of them are washed away. You couldn't drive up and down those things now.
Wow.
And you can see it all from the main road. And I'm like, that is just absolute. That is exactly what you don't want to happen on your property.
If that happens, like that route is a slower route to pasture than doing it by hand with yourself with pigs and cutting trees down, like doing it all yourself.
Well, they may need the money too. I understand that.
There's
Some
that
folks
as
buy
well,
it.
yeah.
They buy this land with the impression that you're going to need the money, but at the same time, you don't want to be left with a moonscape. I understand that conundrum.
You're also selling your trees for wholesale that way as well.
There is
and
that.
Then, okay, so I don't know where you are, but there is one big scam with black walnuts, which are really high dollar trees. You cut that tree down when the inspector shows up. That's when you cut that tree down. You don't cut the tree down and then have the inspector show up, because there's going to be oxidation on the end of that cut, and they're going to say, "Oh, this tree's been sitting here this is now downgraded because I see oxidation on the end of this stump." So cut it down when he shows up.
Well, and then plus you got places, I won't say where and I won't say who, but back in Kansas where they have veneer grade black walnut trees, which are
Yep.
2 foot in diameter, straight wood all the way up. You're talking back then, those were $5,000 trees back then
And if these are
per tree.
yeah, and if these are growing in the type of forest I'm picturing, like I said, I don't know your situation. You probably have some straight like black locust. If they're growing in a heavily dense like
Black walnut.
forest, black walnut. Yeah, what did I say? Black locust. Oh yeah, black walnut. I got a question from the Fountain app from Broomfield Farms. I'm inspired by Isaac from Green Pastures Farm. I am 23 and I wish I could have had thoughts about permaculture when I was in 7th grade. I've only started to research it within the past year. I purchased comfrey from you all and planted them in March. I thank you for your comfrey roots. How old or developed does the comfrey need to be able to propagate it? It's PVC chimney. Is a PVC chimney the best way to fix white dead bacteria in an 18-day compost? Do black locusts propagate well from root cuttings? Man, he stacked some.
Well, you're talking about stacking some functions up in there. Yeah. All right, so what was the first one?
Okay, the first question is, how old or developed does the comfrey need to be able to propagate it?
Hold on, let me back up a little bit. So you're 23 years old. Look, you still have no reason whatsoever. If this is the path you want to go on, owe no debt to your destiny. That ought to be on a t-shirt. For real. You're still young. You're still very young. You didn't have to wait until you're like in your 30s before you figure this out, or your 40s or 50s, or there's a lot of other people getting, 30, 40 years into a job they hated their whole life just to find out later on, hey, man, I just spent the majority of my life doing what I don't want to do. So examine your life. Reach out to people like Isaac and use him as an example, because there's opportunity out there, but you better show some work ethic too.
I mean, if you're 23, I mean, you're still young enough to do internships and apprenticeships and stuff like that. I was about that age when I went to Jeff Lawton's, wasn't I?
No, you were younger, I think, but you're
don't
also,
know.
but you just turned 28, by the way, yesterday.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, he
Getting
turned
old.
28, and then his wife got sick from the birthday food.
Well, yeah. So we went and picked up Thai food, and everybody who ate the Thai food got food poisoning.
I'm the one person that didn't eat that stuff. And I'm the one person that didn't get sick, at least from that. I was sick. Man, I can't imagine what I'd be like if I got mixed up in that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I'm just going to eat some of this bone broth.
Man,
I'll pass on the Thai food.
She got the worst of it. She brought like a pillow into the bathroom yesterday because she just kept getting up, going to the bathroom. Yeah, it was bad.
So let's back to this
Back
question.
to the questions.
Which I forgot about. The first one.
So how old or developed does the comfrey need to be able to propagate it?
Look, everybody's going to tell you it needs to go a couple of years. Look, man, that ain't the case.
I've harvested some of these plants 3 or 4 times this year.
That's what I was trying to say. I mean, people will tell you, hey, it's pretty impossible to kill once it gets going.
Yeah.
About a foot high, let's say. If once you see it about a foot high, you can do it, but it's better to wait.
If you see some blooms on there, I would say it might be mature enough to go ahead and dig it up. And if you see small roots, just put it right back in the ground. The leaves will wilt back, but the roots will still grow.
Yeah, it'll come back.
The second question is a PVC chimney the best way to fix the white dead bacteria in an 18-day compost?
We're doing a new method. In an 18-day compost, you can go that way. You can do that, but you're better off making chimneys. We learned that method from Dr. Ingham. Actually,
Well-
you may have actually taught that method before, too.
The chimney, the PVC chimney, you can do. It's not the best route, and you have to get perforated PVC. Like if it's a solid wall PVC pipe and you put it in there, it's not really benefiting.
But you don't even
anything.
need to do it. You could take the shovel handle, stick it down in there, make a cylinder, make a chimney, and you could air it out that way. That's a much more effective way of going
Right.
about it.
And everything that comes into contact with the PVC wall is going to be anaerobic.
Right.
Yeah. So just stick your shovel handle down in there and wiggle a hole around. Do black locusts propagate well from root cuttings?
Black locust?
Black locusts.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yes, but not how you think either.
Yeah, well, there was a really awesome, Edible Acres. He did a version of it, and I thought it was pretty clever how he would go out there. He'd find the straightest black walnut that he could. And he basically took the roots off of it. A black locust, yeah. And he found the ones that were straight, not the ones growing and crooked in 50 different directions. And he cut the roots, and all the ones, he made sure he aligned the roots in such a way. I don't know if it worked for him or not. I never saw that technique, but I thought it was very clever what he did. And he went out there and propagated all these guys. So, yeah, there's a bunch of options out there.
I would just Google like ways to propagate black locust, because I mean there's a ton of there's like air layering, there's just taking cuttings and rooting those cuttings, like
Seeds.
Yeah, there's seeds. There's a bunch of seeds. Might be the easiest way.
Well, no, I don't know. I think those going the root way was actually the easiest way. So check out the guy at Edible Acres. I saw him do it. And
The reason I'm
thought it was pretty
saying
clever.
seeds might be the easiest way is because you can harvest like thousands of them in a couple hours. Whereas the root cuttings, you can only get maybe 5 or 6 per tree at most.
Yeah, but it depends on what you're going after. His desire was to get straight black locusts, so ones that were coming from the straightest kind of tree.
That's cool.
So, yeah, he said it worked. I'd never tried it that way, but it was interesting to find out. Hey, y'all, some of these questions, we've had, as we stated in the beginning, technical issues with a number of things. So if I've missed, I read every email that comes in here. If it comes in here. And then there's some folks saying, hey, man, I wrote to you 5 or 6 times. And so I'm like, okay, I'll try to get to it. Or I place it in there. Some weird things happen, y'all. It's just what happens. Anyway, we got this one from Troy and Jody. It says, we're having a debate on animal rotation. We have an area of woods that we plan to rotate animals through. The plan was to start with our pigs to clear the undergrowth and then rotate the donkeys and goats through to clear up higher. So the debate is which should go first, or does it matter? Well, it depends. Well, yeah, I'm going to say the one thing that nobody ever wants to hear, but it's true, and it depends. Depends on how thick that stuff is. There is no way on earth you could run them through the thicket. We had to run the pigs through.
Yeah.
So we had to run the pigs first, but they're eating most of the stuff down low. So they kind of led the way for the ruminants that came in afterwards. But the cool thing about it is those ruminants, as we're cutting out these junk trees, I know that's not a word that we shouldn't use in permaculture, but I'm going to say a word everybody understands. As we're cutting out the unwanted trees.
Oh, I'll show you some junk trees. That's a legit term. I'll show you some junk trees.
Yeah, but as they're literally eating the multiflora rose, but the pigs made it accessible for them because they're going to browse much higher than a pig. And plus, as we're knocking down these saplings of these unwanted trees, guess who's eating it? The sheep.
Yeah.
So that's
when
the
he
strategy.
feels like it.
Right. That's the strategy we've used in this place, but there's times easily it could go the other way around. So it depends really for me on how thick the brush is. Can they even get access to it?
The pigs also like crash through stuff. Like they'll just go through, like if they can kind of see through it, they'll go through it. And they don't really feel pain or pressure for the most part.
No, they don't. They will wipe it out.
I got one from Strider47 on the Fountain app. Hey, everybody, don't forget to tip a pimp. Thanks, Billy, for not only sharing what you learned, but being honest about your 75 hard. Praying you get to feeling better and hop back in the saddle soon. Praying for Michelle, too. You guys keep up the great work, and I bet you'll catch Jack. Hashtag Catch Jack.
Well, speaking of Strider 47,
Yeah.
man, sent this really awesome letter and a couple of shirts that I'm going to wear in a video. Real awesome person, man.
Hey, Strider 47, I got a shirt idea for you. And it has to do with the Target stuff going on right now.
Oh,
You
yeah.
want to
So,
hear it?
no, well, just keep it on the DL because there ain't no telling what's about to come out of your mouth right now. Plus, we got to stay on focus. But no, thanks, Strider. He sent some really awesome shirts. I can't wait to wear them in the next one.
Yeah.
This one here from Andrew. Thanks for all you do. I'm feverishly learning about permaculture and figure out how to get involved and help out someone who's in the iPhone app department, software engineering space, as well as how to get a homestead and start getting my hands dirty on setting up my own property, hopefully in the near future. I'll be on the lookout for other people interested in permaculture here in the Phoenix area. Yeah, I was actually out there not long ago in Arizona. There is a thriving permaculture communities out there. And I did it with just an internet search out there. When I hit the ground, I had a little time to kill. And I went and found this guy that I still need to get a t-shirt to. I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, you could definitely find people out there. There's some pretty noted permaculture designers out there as I understand it. But thank you so much for checking us out.
I got another one from the Fountain app, and that's a user 3417. Good day from Australia. I love the show, but I had to comment on your Aussie pronunciation.
Uh-oh.
Chooks is pronounced chooks as in Tootsie Roll, not chooks as in shoots. Keep up the great content.
Okay.
My bad. I was thinking chook dome whenever I said chook, but
So it should be Chuck.
it's still a chicken, y'all. You see, hold on,
Okay.
you're correcting my pronunciation on a fake word. It's a chicken.
Hey, nobody in this side of the world even knows what it is. So. Yeah, they'll get over it. Hey, thanks so much for the correction, though. Man, I'd love to go see Australia one of these days, but man, they got to ease up on a few regs if you know what I'm talking about. So Lynette says, hi, this is Lynette. Got my freeze dryer today, and I'm excited to do things in the garden this year and process some of them. Anyway, yeah, I got to reach out to Lynette, kind of as one of those things that got lost up in here in the space.
Got one from Po Boy. It's niche, not niche. The kids who never opened a dictionary
Thank
assumed niche was pronounced niche, and that's the first generation to start podcasting, making videos, etc. So the mispronunciation spread.
Man, I tell you what, I know it's simple, but man, I just want to, every time I hear that, I just cringe because I'm like, okay. Before it used to I only ever used to hear it pronounced that way from people from California. And then later on, everybody, and I'm like, hold on, man, am I wrong? Is this like one of them Mandela things where I think I'm wrong? So I went and looked it up in the dictionary to go see the proper. I honestly looked up niche, not niche, niche. I looked it up in the dictionary to go find out, am I the one? Dude, am I in some Mandela's? Because I know for a fact, is this going to be like Berenstain, and I got it all wrong? Is this going to be
Man, I
something
don't
else,
know.
Lion and the Lamb?
That
I'm
one,
thinking-
I've always heard like both ways. I've never really known how to pronounce that one until
niche?
just now. Yeah.
Niche. Yeah. Go look it up in the dictionary, y'all. And I'm talking, look, you better go get I'm talking a dictionary with papers in it. So go look it up and look how it's pronounced. It is niche.
Pre-2019.
Yeah. I don't know when it became niche. Now all of a sudden people can stick their noses up in the air. That is not my niche. William.
Okay.
All right, maybe I carried that one a little too far. All right. Hey, you just listen to the podcast. I have used cornmeal and baking soda, equal amounts in containers. Haven't had a problem in years. I replenish every year, but really, okay, I'm not
In
sure what you're
regards to
using this
what?
on. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're using this on, but
Baking soda and sawdust?
yeah, man, if you had it, a little like Quikrete. I'm not even sure what this is all about, Sandy, but
About Quikrete? It acts like
man, I don't
that might
even
be
know.
a cool little. I might have to Google baking soda and sawdust.
I'm sure
and
it's
see what
in
happens.
reference to something, but I'm not even catching what it's all about. Probably should have looked at that beforehand. But for mouse and rat problems, that's what it is. It's in the
Oh.
title, but it isn't in the actual content of the email. So she says, yeah, if you give them that, they can't belch or fart and they curl up and die.
Dang.
Little like basically they eat this stuff and it turns into concrete in their gut.
I think we'll just put the cats outside.
Yeah, I think I'm going with plan A. But yeah, thanks so much. I think it's a great idea. I mean, it's another option anyway.
I got a comment from the YouTube channel Permaculture Pimpcast from Boosted Boomer. What is your take on alpacas instead of sheep? And somebody commented in response of that, Skashun, he said, what do alpacas taste like? I don't know.
Alpacas.
I was actually asked that today. That crazy lady asked me at UPS. So the previous farm used to be goats and alpacas. I told her, obviously, don't do goats. And she said, well, what about alpacas? And I don't really know. But that's the second time I've been asked, what's my opinion on alpacas today?
Well, we got an option to get some alpaca poop, and we'll see how that pans out, because that's just more diversity for the compost pile, provided they ain't been given no junk.
I think they're supposed to be good guardian animals, but you can
Yeah, they
also get
are.
like, for some reason in North Carolina, you can get government checks for raising alpacas.
I don't know,
have
man.
no
Like
idea
you said,
what the incentive is, though.
I don't know, man. They never had no alpaca ribs before. Let's see
I'll
if I
try
can. Yeah, I mean,
Might
hey,
just be
somebody
a-
wants an alpaca, man. I ain't never done an alpaca. How to butcher an alpaca? Hey, there'd be a nice capicola on him. I guarantee that. Hey, never ate no giraffe either, but
Eating a tall sheep.
yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it tastes good with grits. I don't know. That's probably another North Carolina meal. All right, got one from Zach here. Greeting from Wadsworth, Ohio. Been running a mushroom farm for a couple of years. Had tremendous results using these in my personal piles. Basically, he says Wu-Tang down here. So, in a long story short,
Kenneth Sword.
yeah. He basically saying he'd love to send us down some fungal stuff, and I'm like, man, hey, not going to complain about that, man.
Yeah,
Probably reach out to you for some other options in the future, but thank you so much.
that's awesome. I got one from Scott Schoon. He said, I feel sad for Michelle too. Oh, this is in reference to the last episode on the Permaculture Pimpcast on the YouTube channel. He was saying, I feel sad for Michelle too. She's a heartfelt, demure woman to her core. Her devotion to her family and the animals is a lesson to all of us. I pray for God's comfort and joy for her.
Yeah, she's still having a rough time. She loved that little
Yeah.
sheepy. I liked him too, man. He was real sweet.
Yeah, he had character.
Yeah. You know what? He wouldn't have ran into somebody's car.
No, he would have hit under it if it was raining though.
Yeah, like I said, y'all, we got higher standards for our animals than what we expect in people.
Yeah.
Really, that should change.
Yeah.
And that's really changing in my life. I mean, honestly, I'm going to elevate the expectations I have for people to that I have of my animals. Because frankly, if you have an animal that misbehaves, like for example, right before we started this podcast, we got that one sheep got back out again.
The same one.
Yep, same one. Okay, love you dearly, but you done got out that fence too many times.
5 or 6 times now.
Yeah, and you got 5 or 6, and the only reason you ain't in a pot now is because I ain't had time to fool with you. Frankly, I've been sick. But that's another uncomfortable video that's going to have to get done. But I do thank you for recognizing. We were
Yeah.
going to use that one as a Judas sheep also. Anyway, thank you so much for the kind words, and thank you for your prayers. Yeah, she's an extraordinary woman, and yeah, she'll. I mean, she does so much around here.
There's a lot of people saying, like, one lady's saying, Miss Patriot saying, big hug to Michelle. There's a lot of people giving their condolences to mom.
Yeah, she's tough in so many different ways, but when it comes to these little critters, y'all, I'll tell you what, there ain't nobody on this earth that can keep a sheep alive like she can.
Man.
Man,
Yeah.
I mean, when some of these animals are at death's door and should have died years ago, man, she will like dig in this magic trick bag and come out with some stuff. But there was no sign or symptom of anything wrong with him. It was
No.
just his little heart gave out, I think.
Yeah. Poor little guy.
Yeah, so
Your turn?
yeah, Billy, the podcast is balling. I was laughing along with you and William today. I do not have to ask, how long are you considering you need to prepare? Here we are in the aisle here in Nova. Would like to congregate with more like-minded folks.
Nova Scotia?
I'm guessing that's where it is, but
I hope.
yeah, I'd love to get up there one day also, man, but I ain't taking no jab to get there. Thank you so much for reaching out, my man.
Got one from Big Daddy Don on the YouTube channel. Asian restaurants. Around these parts, it's not soup, but orange quarters. I asked my waiter one time why we didn't get orange quarters after our meal while the other Asian folks had oranges. His response was, you American. You want oranges? You get fortune cookies. Needless to say, that was our last visit to that restaurant.
Dude,
What?
I almost want to go there, dude. I like the way this guy rolls.
At least he didn't like try to come up with some lie. He said,
No,
you
dude.
American.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'll give him I thank you for being
I
honest.
think I would have fell out laughing
I'd have
if he
busted
said
up
that.
like, hey, I appreciate the honesty, man, especially in these days. I'd have probably tipped him even, you know.
But hold on. Orange quarters. It's not like it's a legit dessert. They just slice up an orange.
Hey.
Like, how is that? Why is that special for the Asian people?
Well, I don't know. I know this much. I want some soup like everybody else. I want to know what they're eating. In fact, if I ever go to another place like that, which I haven't been forever and a day, and you know why now, when people are getting sick up in here. When I go back in there and I see it, I'm going to tell them, look, I don't care what you got out there because I don't eat at buffets or anything like that anymore. Not that kind anyway. I mean, if it's like a family style thing, like we went up with Pastor Lon and Miss Robbie up in Tennessee, if it's something like that, that's one. But it ain't really a buffet. They just kind of bring it out to you. That's one place. But man, if it's a Chinese buffet and I find myself in one of them, I'm gonna tell them, look, I don't care what's on that buffet out there. Give me what you folks are eating.
Yeah, I would like to go to a Chinese restaurant and say, I want what you eat. Like, because sometimes you see them like sitting at the table, like the family that owns the restaurant. You'll see them sitting at the table and you don't recognize any of that stuff.
No,
I
I'm
want
like,
to try it.
Dude, I want to eat whatever y'all are having, man.
I want to see how they cook all that stuff at the Asian market where we get the bones.
Yeah, dude, we're like they love me there, man. But that guy, that's a trip.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy, do you have any financial advisors that would be helpful to my wife and I? We transitioned from a suburban to a rural lifestyle or a homestead advisory. We need help putting together a roadmap. We finally decided to completely change our lifestyle, but only have the why and when as of yet. They're wanting the what, where, and how, and thank you for your help. I love the podcast too. Thank you so much, Zach. Or Zachary, I'm not sure which one you go by. Let's see here. Well, if you need a consultation, I'd definitely hit up Eric Sider. I mean, you're
sure.
not going to go wrong with a consultation right off. As far as if you're new to this lifestyle, this is one thing that I didn't catch on camera to the full extent that I would have liked with Greg Judy, is that a lot of people have come from, and there's nothing wrong with it. You come from maybe a city background and you find yourself here in this space. And now you feel like a pig on roller skates. It looked so easy when it was on the internet or maybe when you read the books or whatever. And then when you get to the ground, it's another different thing altogether. It certainly doesn't hurt to have another set of eyes in the form of a consultation. So we highly recommend Eric Sider. You'll find him in the show notes down below. I would start with that in terms of, where you should go, because you really need second set of eyes in there. And the reason why you don't want to do it yourself, folks, this is critical. Well, son, why don't you tell them why you don't want to necessarily design your own property?
Well, you're too close to it. You can't really see, like, you have emotional attachments. You have, like, what you already have pictured in your head of how the property should look. Or you have absolutely zero experience and you have no idea where everything should go. I mean, placement of systems on your farm could make or break your farm.
Right. And
because it could get to the point where everything is just improperly placed and you just hate doing it and then eventually stop.
It's one of the biggest things we see as a problem is getting too many animals or misplacing everything just because it feels like it should go over here doesn't mean that it should.
Yeah.
And people you need a person who can look at this property dispassionately. And honestly, a lot of times, 9 out of 10 times, people do not. And talk to Greg Judy about this. We're talking to one of the best grazers on the planet, y'all. He goes to a place, tells them exactly what they need to do, holds their hand in a lot of ways, and 9 times out of 10, they do not take his advice.
Yeah, I believe it.
You spent all this money to get him or Joel Salatin or anybody else out there, and then, so what did you pay for? I mean, they're giving their professional, and they don't do it. So if you do get this goes for everybody out there, y'all. If you get any property whatsoever, you have got to get a second set of eyes on this, and you got to be able to look at it honestly, and don't by any means make any decisions on your property on the basis of your emotions. If you're a person that governs your decision-making on the basis of your emotions, you are the last person on earth that should be designing that property.
Especially fear.
Yes. Yes. Fear or just, well, I feel like it should go over here. Okay. Based on what?
Yeah.
Based on what? Because honestly, this is a business as much as it is a function. And there's too many people. And when I say too many, I'm talking, y'all, unbelievable amounts of people are making these colossal mistakes. And you don't want to, I'll spend more time on that because it's important. Got one from Brian and Barb. Yeah, we met them not long ago. They were at the pig butchery. And they just had some very kind words. And it's a joy to meet you folks. It's so hard. I tell them and everybody else, man, half the time when I do these things, I'm reluctant to ever leave, like to go to Greg Judy's or some other place. I'll go wherever I must to go get knowledge. That's a fact. I'll go across this planet if I need to, if it's something I need to know. Yes. Yes. No matter how far, no journey's too great when you find what you're looking for. So when I get over here, every single time I go, like I said, if Ike was my next door neighbor, we'd probably be hanging out every other day.
Yeah.
And there's people you meet at these things that you can't meet anywhere else. And I'm not just talking about us. I'm talking about each other. And I'm as excited to meet you guys as maybe some of you are to meet me. I don't see myself as anybody special because I'm not. No different than anybody else. I mean, maybe you're hearing me on this podcast, but I guarantee we sit down in the same room. I don't think for a minute that I'm any better. And in fact, in most cases, almost certainly much worse in so many different things. I mean, there's things I'm inept at, things that you're wonderful at. So don't think that any one of us, if any of these people go to these things and they think they're a celebrity or they start acting like it or they need their own little private this and that, well, maybe they ain't the person you want to associate with anyway, because I ain't somebody that is ever going to think I'm better than anybody. So it's always a joy to meet you guys as well. Let's see here. What else you got, son?
Got one from Homesteading Pastor on the YouTube channel.
Wow.
He said, "Great show, guys. Folks got to just get their hands dirty. We can just call them all humans, even though some don't meet the criteria for that sometimes with their crazy belief system and political correctness."
Yeah, and that's going right back to what we were saying before, y'all. I don't see anybody out there coming up with these crazy ideas. I don't see them couching what they think.
No.
So I'm not going to couch what I think, even at the detriment of business. I can live on very little, and we do. Despite what we bring in, y'all, we live on very, very little. We produce a lot of what we have, but we live a very fulfilled lifestyle. At least I know I do. And I'm living the lifestyle I think I was put here to do and help to evangelize it. But look, I'm not gonna hide behind this or that or saying, I think a show I want to do in the future is, well, I got a wife and kids. That's one of the excuses I would always hear for why a man wouldn't stand up. Well, that's all the more reason you need to stand up.
Yeah.
I got a wife and kids. Like I heard a lady, I have got to get her on this show. She was on with Seth Holhouse, and I have got to get her on this show where she discusses how she is being accosted, abused, upside down. Meanwhile, all the men are standing around watching this happen.
What?
Yeah, she's a brave woman, and what she's been able to do single-handedly is astonishing. I've got to get her on this
everybody's more concerned about getting it on camera than they are about doing anything about it. Like, There was this one video that popped up one time, and it was like this guy in a wheelchair was getting bullied, and the guy holding the camera told someone else to go stop it. Like, dude, what?
Yeah,
put the camera down.
Yeah, I know. I don't even understand the world I live in, but that's all the more reason why I'm not go to these festivals or when I meet. Not everybody's wonderful at these things. You're always going to have somebody who's a little unbalanced or people that you think they're one thing, and then when you get to know them a little bit more, they ain't what they say they are. But honestly, I'd rather take my chances meeting folks in these gatherings than any other place. I mean, you're going to find some real stinkers out there, but you're going to find some fantastic, wonderful people that you wish lived down the block from you. Got another one here from Jenny. I mean, what a sweetheart, man. She says we sent her double the order of comfrey, and she offered to pay us. I'm like, absolutely not, man. I mean, we already send extra in the package anyway, but this is the kind of salt of the earth people that you meet where she's like, she's so honest to say, look, this is what I paid for, but this is what you gave me. And you're like, good night, man. These people do exist out there.
They do.
They really do exist out there. And she's just, it was just a joy to be able to read her words and to tell everybody else about it. Another one here from Bill. He says, tell me more about how to apply this bone sauce. I need to keep deer off my vegetables. And I don't think I can apply this to these plants. No, you're right about that, Bill. Anyway, he's wondering about the raised beds and stuff like that. I get this question a lot, so I'll answer it. If it's a wooden, first of all, bone sauce was never even designed for that. It was designed for orchard settings. And people have adapted it to put it on their wooden boxes in their raised beds. And some people have had extraordinary results. And other people tell me they haven't. So it's a mixed bag on some things. Never had a problem with any of it. In our raised beds, the
We don't have
problem,
any pests. Yeah.
well, the rodent problem went away long before we even had the cats. And he was wondering how long it needs to be reapplied. If it's on a wooden surface, it doesn't need to be reapplied for quite a while. Sometimes
25 to 30 years or something.
Yeah,
is the
depending on
claim.
your pressure. I mean, it seems some people, all I know is there ain't anything on the shelf you're going to buy that's working any better. I know that.
That's for doggone sure, yeah.
All right, y'all. I know this program went a little bit long today, y'all, but I think you understand and can appreciate the technical reasons why. Yeah, it's longer than you know when you're on this side of the microphone because we had to start it 4 or 5 times.
I'm over here
But,
sweating.
Yeah,
It's
here we
hot
are.
in here now.
Man, I'm sweating like a runaway slave. It got so hot up in here. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for your listening in. And until next time, y'all stay alert.
Stay alive.